Sometimes, the smallest moment carries the heaviest weight. A single choice, made quietly, can echo through lives long after voices fade. This is not a story about heroes. It is a story about kindness that refused to be invisible. The restaurant was almost empty when the clock struck 10:47 p.m. Only 3 tables remained occupied, their conversations low, their movements slow, as if the night itself was tired. The lights above the counter glowed warmly, casting soft shadows across the tiled floor. Outside, the city moved on without noticing what was about to happen inside. Lena adjusted her apron and took a slow breath. She was 22 years old, barely a year into this job, and already she had learned something no training manual ever mentioned. People came to restaurants for more than food. They came carrying entire lives on their shoulders. She wiped the counter carefully, her movements practiced, almost automatic. The tips jar beside the register was half full, a good night by any standard. She glanced at it briefly, then looked away. That's when she noticed the woman. The customer sat alone at the far corner table, the one closest to the window. She looked to be somewhere between 45 and 50. Her dark coat draped neatly over the chair beside her. Her hair was pulled back in a simple, practical style, the kind someone wears when they have stopped caring about impressing anyone. She had been sitting there for a while. Her food was untouched. Lena had served her nearly 30 minutes ago, soup, bread, and a small plate of pasta. At the time, the woman had smiled politely and said thank you, her voice calm, steady. Nothing about her had suggested trouble. But now, something was different. Lena watched as the woman picked up the check, studied it carefully, and then placed it back on the table. Her shoulders sank slightly, the way they do when a person realizes they are more tired than they thought. Lena felt something tighten in her chest. She had seen this look before. It wasn't panic. It wasn't embarrassment either. It was something quieter. The moment when someone does the math in their head and realizes it doesn't work anymore. Lena hesitated. She wasn't the manager. She wasn't rich. She wasn't anyone important. She was just a waitress working late shifts to pay for community college and help her younger brother back home. She turned back to the register, pretending to organize receipts, but her eyes kept drifting toward the corner table. The woman hadn't moved. She sat with her hands folded in her lap, staring out the window at the reflection of the restaurant lights. People passed by outside, laughing, talking, living lives that seemed far away from whatever she was carrying. Lena made a decision. She reached into the tip jar. Her fingers closed around a handful of bills and coins. Not all of it, but enough. Enough to notice later. Enough to matter. She walked slowly toward the table, her heart pounding louder with each step. The woman looked up as Lena approached. "I'll take the check whenever you're ready," the woman said quickly, her voice a little too firm, as if she wanted to end the moment before it could grow uncomfortable. Lena placed the money gently on top of the bill. "This is covered," she said softly. The woman frowned, confused. "I didn't—" "I know," Lena interrupted, her voice calm. "It's already taken care of." For a moment, the woman simply stared at the money. Then she looked up at Lena, her eyes searching, almost defensive. "You don't know me," she said. Lena nodded. "I know. This isn't your responsibility. I know that too." The woman swallowed. Her composure cracked, just slightly. "Then, why?" Lena thought about her answer. She could have said something simple, made a joke, brushed it off, pretended it was no big deal. Instead, she told the truth. "Because sometimes," she said quietly, "people need help before they ask for it." The woman's eyes filled with tears she clearly hadn't planned on shedding. She laughed softly, shaking her head. "I promised myself I wouldn't cry tonight." Lena smiled gently. "Then don't. Just eat while it's still warm." The woman pressed her lips together, trying to steady herself. You're very young. You shouldn't be giving your money away like this. Lena shrugged. Money comes back. Moments don't. They sat there in silence for a few seconds, the noise of the restaurant fading into the background. Finally, the woman stood. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small card, sliding it across the table toward Lena. I don't know why, but it feels important that you have it. Lena didn't look at the card. You don't owe me anything. I know. That's why this matters. She paused, then added, You didn't just pay for dinner tonight. You reminded me that I'm still seen. Lena felt her throat tighten. The woman picked up her coat, hesitated, then gently squeezed Lena's hand. Whatever you're going through, she said, I hope someone shows up for you the same way. And then she was gone. The bell above the door chimed softly as it closed behind her. Lena stood for a moment, staring at the empty table. She didn't feel proud. She didn't feel heroic. She felt quiet. Later that night, as she wiped down tables and stacked chairs, she noticed the card the woman had left behind. She slipped it into her apron pocket without looking at it. Some things didn't need names. Life moved on. Days turned into weeks, weeks into years. Lena finished college, left the restaurant job, found work, struggled, failed, tried again. Like everyone else, she collected moments, some painful, some beautiful, most ordinary. She forgot about the woman, or at least, she thought she did. 5 years later, Lena walked into a familiar restaurant, not as an employee this time, but as a guest. The place had been renovated, new lights, new paint, but the layout was the same. And there, framed neatly on the wall near the entrance, was a photograph. It showed a young waitress standing awkwardly beside an older woman, both smiling softly. Below the picture, a plaque read, This restaurant exists because one young woman chose kindness over comfort. Some debts are never meant to be repaid, only passed forward. Lena felt her breath catch. A voice behind her said, I was hoping it was you. She turned. The woman stood there, older now, but unmistakable, lighter. You remembered, the woman said. Lena laughed softly, tears in her eyes. I didn't even know. The woman smiled. That's how real kindness works. It changes lives quietly. They stood together, two strangers connected by a moment that refused to disappear. Outside, the city moved on. Inside, a star of kindness still shone.